Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Totally Abstracted, where we explore the tools, tips, and mindsets that help you build a creative practice that works alongside your busy life. I'm Michelle, and I'm so excited you're here today for a topic that I'm deeply passionate about: how to keep your creative spark alive with consistency. Now, before we dive in, let me give you a little background on myself if you're new here. In my day job, I lead software engineering teams to deliver IT projects. I'm a certified Agile Scrum Master, and I spend a lot of time helping teams stay organised, productive, and focused so we can deliver big, complex projects one step at a time. But here's the thing: I found that these same principles work just as well in my creative life. You see, the creative process can feel messy, chaotic, and let's be honest, downright overwhelming at times, right? Whether you're an artist, a writer, or a maker of any kind, the journey from idea to execution can feel like a huge, disorganized tangle of thoughts and emotions. And when you're juggling a full-time job, or family, or other responsibilities, it's easy to let that chaos take over. But that's where consistency comes in. It's like fuel for your creative fire. And today I want to show you how building a simple routine can create unstoppable momentum in your creative practice. Now, when I talk about consistency, I don't mean rigid schedules or forcing yourself to create every day when life gets in the way. What I'm talking about is showing up regularly, even if it's in small ways, and embracing the idea that creative progress happens in sprints. So let's talk about that for a second. In Agile, we have this concept called sprints. They're short, focused bursts of work, usually about 2 weeks, where the goal is to make measurable progress on a project. Now, if you're thinking, Michelle, how does that apply to art or any other creative activity? Well, here's the magic. When you break your creative work into small, focused efforts, you can maintain consistency without getting overwhelmed. The key is to keep the momentum going, even if it's just for 15 minutes a day. Let me tell you how this works in practice. I often have days when my schedule is jam-packed with meetings, project deadlines, and family commitments. On those days, it can feel impossible to dedicate hours to my art. But what I've learned through both my agile work and my creative practice is that showing up for just a small sprint of creativity can make all the difference. Maybe it's 10 minutes of sketching or a quick brainstorm of ideas for a new project. It's these small, regular efforts that keep the creative fire burning. It's not about waiting for the perfect block of time when you're feeling inspired, because honestly, that doesn't always happen. It's about fueling your creativity by showing up consistently in whatever way you can. And here's the best part. By doing this, you avoid the chaos. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the sheer size of a project or the perfectionism trap, you can focus on the small steps. Each creative sprint brings you closer to your goal without the pressure of needing to complete everything in one go. I'll give you an example from my own life. A while back, I had this ambitious idea to create a large series of abstract landscapes. At first, I was really excited, but then the reality hit. When am I going to find the time to do this? That's when I applied agile principles to my creative work. I started breaking the series down into smaller tasks, brainstorming colour palettes, experimenting with new techniques, and working on lots of exploratory pieces. Each step became its own mini sprint, and before I knew it, I had built real momentum. And guess what? It wasn't just about the final product. It was about falling in love with the process, piece by piece. That's what consistency does. It helps you build a routine where you're not just chasing the end result, but actually enjoying the journey along the way. So how can you apply this to your creative life? Here's the simple way to start. Think about your next creative project, or even just your creative practice in general. Break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. So if you're a painter, maybe one day you experiment with textures, and the next day you focus on colour mixing. The key is to set small, achievable goals for your creative sprints. And it doesn't have to be every day, just regularly enough to keep the momentum going. Remember, creativity isn't about giant leaps. It's about small, consistent steps. Over time, those steps add up to something truly amazing. I want to leave you with this thought. Building a routine is less about rigid rules and more about creating a space for your creativity to thrive. Consistency gives you permission to show up as you are, imperfect but present, and it frees you from the chaos of feeling like you need to do everything all at once. So, if you take one thing away from today, let it be this. Start small, stay consistent, and trust that the process will take you where you need to go. Thank you so much for joining me today on Totally Abstracted. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear how you're building consistency into your creative practice. You can find me on social media, Michelle Slee Art, or feel free to reach out on my website, www.abstractingthelandscape.com. And before you go, if you're ready to take control of your time and start making real progress on your creative projects, be sure to check out the link in the show notes for my free Creatives Quick Start Guide to Time Mastery. It's packed with actionable tips to help you balance your creative work with everything else on your plate. Grab it now and get started. Until next time, keep fueling that creative fire, one small step at a time.